What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Nope. Written and directed by Jordan Peele, this film stars people like Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Brandon Perea, Michael Wincott, Stephen Yeun, and many others, and tells the story of a brother and sister who believe their father has been killed by some sort of a UFO. Jordan Peele is back at it once again, continually impressing audiences ever since his leap from sketch comedy to horror with his first directorial and writing debut in terms of big feature-length films with things like Get Out, and he's had Us since then, and he's just been a name that people are consistently excited to see what he's gonna do next. So here we are now with his third film, and before we get too far into this, I do want to mention that when I saw the very first trailer for this, what I loved about that first trailer was the mystery of it all. You know, everything was left kind of a mystery. The trailer didn't really give you a whole lot to really bite onto as to what the movie was about. And unfortunately, as is the case with a lot of other movies, as the weeks and months started to kind of roll out and the closer we got to the release of this movie, more marketing started to roll out, specifically a trailer that pretty much showed majority of the basic premise and plot of this movie. But for the sake of this review, in case you haven't seen that, I won't get too far into this. But as I mentioned before, a lot of stuff has come out, so I'm gonna kind of dabble in a few things here and there. And the most notable thing being that this is an alien movie. This is a sci-fi film. And I think if you watch that first trailer for Nope, there's something about it that feels like it's a little bit more of a horror film. But though this film does have horror elements to it, it's not really much of a horror film. It does have really well executed horror sequences, but I would say this is more of a sci-fi thriller. What I can say about this film right out of the gate is I really thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I actually really enjoyed the ending of this film a lot more than the ending of his last film, Us, which for me was not necessarily the greatest ending. I enjoyed that film a lot. I've already covered Get Out and Us here if you guys want to check out my thoughts on those. But yeah, you know, going into this, I was definitely curious to see where this was going to go and how it was going to wrap up. And for the most part, I'm happy with how this movie wrapped up, at least more so than I was with Us. But what I can say about this movie overall is I wasn't as captured with it as I maybe thought I was going to be. Maybe that's an expectations thing. Maybe this movie needs to sit with me a little bit longer. I literally just got home from having seen it. And what I can say about the film is it's really well made. The movie looks great. The cinematography, the score is great throughout the course of the film. It really builds on the tension. The way that these scenes are put together in terms of their directing, the performances, everything, the look, the feel, the vibe, the special effects, all of that is top tier. So when it comes to the craft behind the screen that made this movie what it is, I think without a doubt this movie definitely hits the nail on the head for what it was trying to go for and being something really different. In a world where sci-fi films have been some of the earliest films ever made, going back to the 30s and 40s and beyond, I'm happy to say that this movie has its own identity within all that. You know, there isn't that cookie cutter alien movie vibe that you see in a lot of other alien related or sci-fi movies. You know, there are so many movies, the aliens come, they're the bad guys or they're the good guys, and you know, we've just kind of seen the alien thing done so many times, and it can be done well and very uniquely in so many different cases. And thankfully here, I think what it does is it has a nice balance of something that's familiar while also doing something very different with the genre and not necessarily going down the route that you think that the film is going to go down, especially with some of the foreshadowing that it starts to set up a little bit earlier that isn't fully played out as you start to kind of uncover things here in this movie. Overall, this is a film with really solid performances, as I just mentioned, and a lot of these sequences were all just so well done. Even if I didn't necessarily love the film overall as much as something like Get Out, I did really enjoy the filmmaking elements. I was constantly impressed by the performances on screen, the look, the feel, some of these shots. There were shots in this movie that I can already see people are going to be posting online, calling these the most beautiful shots of Nope, because there are definitely tons of moments over the course of this film where I just thought, wow, that is a beautiful shot. Oh wow, that's a really well shot sequence. And that was just something I was consistently thinking while I was watching this film. The big two standouts without a doubt in this film are the two lead roles, the brother and sister in this film, played by Daniel Kaluuya, as well as Keke Palmer. And I would say that Keke Palmer was probably the main standout in this movie for me. She gave the most human and realistic performance while also, you know, creating a character that was fun and likable and somebody that you can kind of root for as the movie was going on. She was really, really cool. And then you have somebody like Daniel Kaluuya, who's playing off of her in a different way, a little bit more of a serious character, a little bit more of a quiet character, whereas her character is a little bit more rambunctious, a little bit more energetic. And I thought that the chemistry between the two of them was really solid. They really sell you on that brother-sister dynamic. And I think overall the sibling vibe was definitely very strong while watching it, which kept the movie engaging and exciting while I was watching it. With that said though, my biggest gripe on this movie is that the movie comes in a little bit over 2 hours. I think it's about 2 hours and 11 minutes. And I thought the movie was just a little overly long for what it is. There are some characters that you think are going to be a bigger part of this movie when you see the trailer and when you see some of the posters that feature these characters. And though they may have big segments of the movie that focus on these characters or where they're involved, I did find that some of these characters weren't nearly as important or as gripping as the other two main lead characters of the film. The other characters that were coming in and out of the story for me were just fine. They were just okay. They served a purpose. But for me, really, when it comes down to the core characters of this movie, it's really Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer's characters, their brother-sister dynamic, that keeps this film truly engaging. It's really what you're rooting for while you're watching the movie, which is awesome. I really thought they did a great job. But yeah, there's a lot of characters in this movie that I didn't necessarily feel needed as much screen time as they really got when you really see how their story plays out by the time you get to the very end of the movie. There was some fat in the movie at times that I just kind of think back on as I was driving here home and, talking to my fiance about, that just kind of felt like, oh, did we really need that? Or what was the point of this scene or that scene? And, Jordan Peele is somebody who is really deep when it comes to symbolism and metaphors and stuff in his movies. So, like I said, I just came out of the theater and just saw this. This is my review, but also first thoughts. And I recognize that a film like this, directed by somebody like Jordan Peele, is definitely going to be a kind of movie that I need to sit with a little bit longer, and definitely a movie that I'm probably going to have to revisit to kind of really expand my overall opinion on it. Something like Get Out was able to really hit me and was really effective on its first watch, but I've grown to appreciate a lot of things that I missed or just kind of expand my thoughts on certain elements with every subsequent viewing. And that's usually the case with any sort of film that's created by such a deep thinker like Jordan Peele. But on its surface, this is a sci-fi alien thriller film with a brother and sister at the core of the story trying to figure out a way to capture some sort of image or view of this alien to prove to the world that this alien exists. And overall, I found it to be an enjoyable ride. I found it to be a little bit overly long, a little bit slow at times, and some of the characters for me didn't really have much to do or were just kind of there and didn't really ever have me fully gripped. And outside of that, I would say that this is a good time. I think if you're a fan of Jordan Peele, you're definitely going to have a good time at the theaters. There was definitely moments in the theater where people were gasping or excited or laughing at things that were happening on screen. I don't really know where I would rank this in terms of my thoughts on Jordan Peele films. I think that Get Out, without a doubt, is still my favorite. And I would say that this one and Us are kind of equal at times, but I think that Us has the upper hand when it comes to the overall horror vibe, the performances, and the look, the feel, and vibe of that film. There's something about that one that's a little bit more unsettling and a little bit more down my alley, whereas this one was cool, definitely really cool, but there was definitely elements about it that I wish were just a little bit better. With that said, though, I do recommend it. I think if you're a fan of Jordan Peele, you're going to have a good time. I think if you're a fan of our lead actors and actresses here, you're definitely going to have a good time. And overall, it was a good time at the theaters, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. So big thanks to you guys for watching. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, and definitely comment your thoughts. Did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? Any and all comments down below would definitely be appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.